David Haye versus Derek Chisora. Now, the weigh-in for this fight was today. David Haye came in at 211.2 pounds, not the 210 pounds they announced. Not like it makes any difference, but there's always some wise ass that wants to try to correct me. So let me correct you before you correct me. Yeah. So David Haye came in at 211.2 pounds. Derek Chisora came in at 247 pounds. David Haye is around 2 pounds heavier than he was against Vladimir Klitschko a year ago. Derek Chisora is around 6 pounds heavier than he was against Vitaly Klitschko in February. So David Haye is coming a little bit lighter than I expected. I was a bit worried that maybe David might come in a bit too muscle bound. You know, I know David Haye likes to, push a lot of weights. And he had said that since he was retired, he was going to start doing a lot more weightlifting than he was doing when he was actually boxing. So I was a bit concerned that he might be a bit too bulky, a bit too muscle bound, and that would affect his speed and stamina in a negative way. But he hasn't. He's coming at a good weight, pretty much the same kind of weight he would be as a cruiserweight. Around 210 pounds. I mean, he probably weighed that in most of his cruiserweight fights. Derek Chisora, 6 pounds heavier than he was against Vitaly Klitschko. It's not a terrible weight for him, but it's not as light as you would want to see him. I was really hoping to see Derek Chisora at least as light as he was against Klitschko, if not lighter. I was hoping to see him maybe under 240 pounds for the first time, but we didn't see that. So that's a bit of a red flag right there. That's not a good look for Derek Chisora coming in 6 pounds heavier than he was against Vitaly, because in this fight, he's going to need all the speed he can get. He's already the naturally bigger man. Yeah, if you strip Derek Chisora's fat off his body, he's still going to weigh 230 pounds of solid muscle, right? He's still naturally bigger than David Haye. So all that extra fat on his body is not helping him. It's just making him slower. It's just taking his reactions away. Yeah. He don't need to be 247 pounds. So it's definitely not an advantage. And also, David Haye is the attraction in this fight, and he's been able to pretty much call all the shots in the negotiations for this fight. David Haye has managed to cut this fight from being a 12-round fight to a 10-round fight. He's managed to pick the referee, and he's also managed to he's also getting paid roughly twice as much as Derek Chisora is getting paid. Right, so David Haye has had the negotiations all his own way. Yeah, the only thing in favor of Derek Chisora, and it's yet to be confirmed, is that they're going to be fighting in a small ring. Obviously, Derek Chisora is a come-forward fighter, a pressure fighter. So the smaller the ring is, the better it is for him, because he don't have to cover as much ground chasing David Haye around. David Haye is a guy who likes to move around, who likes to keep distance between him and his opponent. So obviously, a bigger ring would favor David Haye. But when all said and done, when this fight was first made and I was analyzing it, I thought, you know what? This fight is going to come down to one thing. Can Derek Chisora take David Haye's power? Because David Haye's a fast starter. We know that. Yeah, he's knocked a lot of guys out early in fights, and he's dropped a lot of guys early in fights. Even as a heavyweight, he's dropped guys early in fights, and he tends to fade later in fights. I know he rocked Nikolai Valoev in the 12th, but he threw so few punches in that fight that it was understandable that he would still have energy late in the fight. And it was a similar situation with Vladimir Klitschko, who threw so few punches against Vladimir Klitschko that later in the fight he still was able, I think in the 12th round, he landed probably his best punch of the whole fight against Vladimir. But I think that is the exception and not the rule. Generally, David Haye is more dangerous in the early rounds and tends to fade a little bit in the later rounds. Derek Chisora normally is the opposite, you understand? So I thought, you know what, if Derek Chisora can take David Haye's power and walk through his punches the way he was walking through Vitaly Klitschko's punches, then Derek Chisora is probably going to win this fight. Because if David Haye can't get his respect, if he can't keep him off, Derek will get to him. David's not 6'7" like Vitaly Klitschko. He can't hide behind, his height and reach. He's around the same height as Derek Chisora, so he won't be able to keep him off. He's not physically strong enough to keep him off, to fight him off. And he's not slick enough to just out-slick him in there without being able to hurt him. You understand? If Derek Chisora was in shape, you know, if he came in like 240 pounds or under, I just didn't think he's quick, but he's not slick enough to out-slick him. So I thought that he would have to be able to intimidate Chisora with his power at the very least. He might not necessarily have to knock Chisora out or knock him down or really shake him up, but he'd have to intimidate him with his power to prevent Derek from just walking him down. Yeah. A good example of this would be if you go and watch Lennox Lewis versus David Tua. Watch the HBO commentary, because Larry Merchant points out the moment that it happens. David Tua comes out in that fight very aggressive, and he tries to take Lennox Lewis's head off. Yeah, Lewis manages to catch David Tua with a hard right hand. David Tua was known, especially in his prime, for having a tremendously strong chin. But even when he felt the weight of Lewis's punch, it was a right hand that landed on him. When he felt the weight of the punch, yeah, he was intimidated for the rest of the fight. Yeah, in his own mind, he felt how hard that shot was, and he thought, wow, if I get hit with any more of those shots, if I get hit with two or three shots like that in a row, I'm going to be in trouble. Yeah. So from that moment on, David Tua was scared to let his hands go. Yeah. So I saw the possibility of a situation like that in this fight with David Haye and Derek Chisora. If Haye can land a shot, don't even necessarily have to knock Chisora down or knock him out or, really shake him up, but just intimidate him enough to make Derek know that he can't just walk in on him. Yeah. David Haye needs that space to operate, and he gets that space by intimidating his opponents with punching power. Yeah. If he can't intimidate the opponent with a punching power, he has problems. You get what I'm saying? So that was always the question to me. Can Derek take his power? Now, I'm still not certain whether Derek can take his power without being intimidated. I don't know. We'll just have to see on the night. David Price made a good point that Derek Chisora seems like he's got a good chin. He took shots from Helenius and Fury and Vitaly Klitschko, but these are all big, tall guys who have been catching him on the top of the head. Yeah, David Price says that he believes, David Haye is really going to test Chisora's chin, and I go along with that. Those guys weren't really catching Chisora on the chin; they were catching him high on the head, where it's easier to take the shots. Yeah, I'm not saying that Derek can't take Haye's shots. I'm just saying that I haven't seen enough yet to be convinced that he can take them. So to me, it's still an open question about whether he can take them. If I was put on the spot and, told to guess whether I think he can take Haye's shots, yes or no, I'll probably say yes, he can. Yeah, but I don't know that for sure just yet. So that's still a little bit of an open question for me. But what I think is more significant now, because, that whole scenario was based on an in-shape Derek Chisora being able to take Haye's shots, walk forward the way he did against Vitaly Klitschko, not being intimidated by Haye's power, walk Haye down over 12 rounds and take him out, right? But the difference, the thing is in this fight now is we've got so many things in Haye's favor that I'm leaning more towards David Haye. Yeah, Chisora hasn't come in as light as I wanted to see him. He's going to suffer. He's going to lose speed and agility because of that. The referee is David Haye's referee, so he's probably going to break the fighters up quickly. And the fight is over 10 rounds, which also favors David Haye. So, to me, I think both guys have probably got the power to hurt each other. I think both guys have probably got the power to knock each other out. But I think David Haye's movement, because he's so much lighter than Derek Chisora, will prevent him from getting caught with anything that will knock him out. I think his head movement and his foot speed will keep him out of trouble from getting hit by any, huge bombs from Chisora. At least in the early and middle rounds, he should be able to stay away from, anything significant. I know Derek Chisora is not known as a massive puncher as a heavyweight, but David Haye's been put down by cruiserweights and light heavyweights before. Do you understand? So if Derek Chisora catches him with a full force punch, bang on the chin, I think David Haye will go down. I think he'll be hurt. And in terms of David Haye and, you know, hitting Chisora, like I said, I don't know whether Chisora can take his power without being hurt or intimidated, but I think David Haye might find Derek Chisora a little bit harder, a little bit more difficult to hit clean on the chin than he's expecting. Yeah, Derek Chisora comes in with his head down. He protects his chin quite well. He moves his head. I know he don't have the kind of reflexes or anything like that David Haye has, but I think he's probably a bit more difficult to hit on the chin than most people realize. Like I said, he was getting hit by Vitaly Klitschko, etc. But you know, those guys had much longer arms than him. Those guys were punching down on him, so you know he was really kind of more vulnerable to those guys. Do you understand? Whereas with David Haye, they're around the same height. So I think even the reach is not even too dissimilar. Arm length anyway. I think David Haye's got a longer reach, but the arm length is around the same from what I believe, from what I've read online. So my prediction for this fight, I'm going to go with a David Haye victory in this fight. I think because it's over 10 rounds and not 12, and with all the things in David's favor, with the fact that Derek's coming a little bit too heavy and the fact that David's coming light, he should have a lot of speed and agility. And I think he's really worked on his stamina for this fight. I think he knows that Derek has got a good engine and it can keep going even late in the fight. I think he knows that. David Haye's got to try and avoid body contact in this fight. Yeah, Derek Chisora is a lot heavier than him, a lot bigger than him naturally. So if he's involved in a lot of wrestling and clinching with, you know, a naturally bigger man who's been used to clinching and wrestling with big 6'7" giants and you know, pushing them off and bullying them around, you know, if David Haye gets involved in all that, then that's gonna wear him out. You understand? So, and obviously Derek does all his best work on the inside. So Haye's got to avoid that, but I think he will avoid it, most likely. Like I say, I think both guys have got the power to hurt each other. So this is a heavyweight fight, folks. I wouldn't be surprised if either guy got knocked out at any stage in this fight. But I'm trying to look at what I think would be the most probable scenario. Anything is possible, but I'm trying to find out what I think would be most probable. And I think the most probable outcome in this fight is that David Haye will fight on the back foot. He knows that he's going to have to let his hands go at moments in this fight, because if he doesn't, Derek will just keep walking him down and have no respect. So he has to let his hands go to get Derek's respect. I'm not sure whether he will get Derek's respect, but I think he'll be fast enough. Yeah, because Derek's heavy. I think he'll be fast enough to actually just outbox him. You know, I never thought that Haye would be able to just outbox Chisora if Chisora was really in good shape, like 240 or below. But being that he's as heavy as he is and as slow on his feet as he's going to be, I think that Haye will just simply be able to outbox him. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised about a knockout either way. Anything is possible. But the most probable outcome I see is a 10-round points decision win for David Haye. He might even stop Chisora late in the fight. That's a possibility, you know, because if the speed differential is that great, Chisora might start getting caught left, right, and center, taking chances, leaving himself open, knowing that he's behind on the scorecards, and then start getting caught with some real vicious shots. I don't know, but it's possible that could happen. You know what I mean? It's possible it could happen. So I'm tempted to go for a late stoppage, actually. But no, I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to say David Haye wins a decision in this fight. Yeah, that's what I'm going for. So let me know what you lot think in the comment section below. Is there anything else I've missed out in this prediction? Anything I forgot to talk about? I'm pretty sure there is, but I don't want to make the video too long and be sitting here thinking about what it is. So you lot tell me in the comment section below and we'll discuss it. Yeah, this is Hatman. I'm out.